Jake Morrison sat in his small room on the ship. The metal walls felt cold around him. 3 months had passed since the attack on Colony 7. 3 months since Emma died. He still kept her yellow dress hanging in the closet. Sometimes he would touch the soft fabric and remember her smile. The ship moved slowly through space. They were looking for signs of the aliens who destroyed the colony. So far, they had found nothing. Just empty space and dead planets. Jake was the captain, but he felt lost. His crew tried to help him, but the pain stayed with him every day. The alarm started ringing. Jake jumped up from his chair. The sound meant another ship was close. He ran to the control room where his crew was working. The screen showed a small alien ship coming toward them. "Captain, they want to talk to us," said Ben, his communications officer. Ben was young and nervous. His hands shook as he worked the controls. "What do they want?" Jake asked. His voice was rough. He had not spoken much in weeks. "They say they have something that belongs to you," Ben replied. He looked confused. "They want permission to come on our ship." Jake felt his heart beat faster. Nothing belonged to him anymore. Everything he cared about was gone. But something made him curious. Maybe it was hope. Maybe it was just the need to know. "Let them dock," he said. "But keep weapons ready." The crew prepared for the visitors. Jake went back to his room to get his gun. When he opened the closet door, he saw Emma's dress again. The yellow fabric seemed to glow in the dim light. He touched it one more time before closing the door. 20 minutes later, Jake stood in the docking bay. His crew was with him, weapons hidden but ready. The alien ship was small and dark. It made no sound as it attached to their ship. The door opened with a soft hiss. Jake expected to see monsters. He expected to see the creatures that killed Emma and everyone else on Colony 7. Instead, he saw a woman walking toward him. She had long brown hair and green eyes. She wore a yellow dress that moved gently as she walked. It was Emma. Jake could not breathe. His heart stopped beating for a moment. The woman looked exactly like Emma. She had the same small scar on her left hand from when she was a child. She had the same way of walking, the same smile. Even her voice was the same when she spoke. "Hello, Jake," she said softly. "I missed you." The crew behind Jake made surprised sounds. Some of them had known Emma. They stepped back in shock. Ben dropped his weapon. The sound of metal hitting the floor echoed in the bay. Jake wanted to run to her. He wanted to hold her and never let go. But something was wrong. Something deep inside him screamed danger. This could not be real. Emma was dead. He had seen her body. He had watched them bury her on Colony 7 before the evacuation. "You are not Emma," he said. His voice shook. The woman tilted her head. She looked confused, like Emma did when she did not understand something. But the confusion was different somehow. It was too perfect, too practiced. "Of course I am Emma," she said. "Do I not look like her? Do I not sound like her? I have all her memories, Jake. I remember our first kiss. I remember the night we spent watching the stars on Colony 7. I remember telling you I loved you." Each word was like a knife in Jake's heart. These were private moments, sacred moments between him and Emma. How could this creature know about them? How could it speak about them so casually? "Emma is dead," Jake whispered. "I buried her myself," the woman smiled. It was Emma's smile, but it felt cold. "Death is not permanent, Jake. My people found her. We brought her back for you. Is this not what you wanted, to have her with you again?" Jake looked at his crew. They were all staring at the woman. Some looked hopeful. Others looked afraid. They wanted to believe this was real. They wanted their friend to be alive again. But Jake knew better. This was not a gift. This was something terrible wearing Emma's face. "What are you?" he asked. The woman stepped closer. She reached out to touch his face just like Emma used to do. Jake wanted to pull away, but he could not move. Her hand felt warm and real. "I am Emma Rodriguez," she said. "I am 28 years old. I study plants on alien worlds. I love coffee with too much sugar. I hate the cold. I love you, Jake Morrison, more than anything in this universe." All of these things were true about Emma, but hearing them from this creature made Jake feel sick. It was like watching someone wear the skin of someone you loved. The facts were right, but the soul was gone. "Prove it," Jake said. "Tell me something only Emma would know." The woman smiled again. This time, Jake saw something behind her eyes. Something hungry and alien and wrong. "I know everything Emma knew," she said. "Every thought, every feeling, every secret. I am more Emma than Emma ever was. I am perfect. That was when Jake knew for certain. Emma was never perfect. She was clumsy and stubborn and sometimes angry. She burned coffee and sang off-key in the shower. She was beautifully, wonderfully human. This thing was something else entirely. "What do you want?" Jake asked. The creature wearing Emma's face looked surprised by the question. "I want to be with you, Jake. I want to love you and be loved by you." "Is that not what humans want? Is that not what Emma wanted?" Jake felt cold spreading through his body. Whatever this thing was, it did not understand love. It thought love was just memories and actions. It did not know that love was choice and growth and accepting someone's flaws. "Come with me," Jake said finally. "We need to talk privately." The creature nodded eagerly. As they walked toward Jake's room, he caught sight of Ben's face. The young man looked confused and scared. Jake gave him a small signal with his hand. Ben nodded slightly. He would keep the crew ready for anything. Jake led the creature to his room, his mind racing. Emma was dead. But something was wearing her face, speaking with her voice and claiming to love him. He needed to find out what it really wanted, and he needed to find out fast before it was too late for all of them. Jake closed the door to his room. The creature that looked like Emma stood in the middle of the space, looking around with familiar eyes. She touched the desk where Emma used to work. She opened the closet and saw the yellow dress hanging there. "You kept it," she said, sounding pleased. "Emma would be happy." "Stop calling yourself Emma," Jake said. His hands were shaking. "Tell me what you really are." The creature turned to face him. For a moment her face looked different. The features shifted slightly, like water rippling. Then Emma's face returned perfect and beautiful and wrong. "I'm called Kira among my people," she said. "We are the Kaleth. We are travelers who move between stars seeking sustenance." "Sustenance?" Jake asked. He kept his distance from her. "What kind of food do you need?" Kira sat down on Emma's old chair. She moved exactly like Emma did, crossing her legs the same way. But her eyes held something cold and alien. "We feed on memories," she said. "But not just any memories. We need the ones filled with strong emotions. Love, grief, joy, pain. These feelings give us energy to live." Jake felt sick. "You eat emotions?" "In a way, yes," Kira replied. "Your species creates the most powerful emotions we have ever found. Human love is especially rich. It feeds us for many cycles. So you kill people to steal their memories?" Kira looked confused by his anger. "We preserve them. When humans die, their memories usually disappear forever. We save them. We make them eternal. By wearing their faces and pretending to be them." "We do not pretend," Kira said. "I have all of Emma's memories. I know everything she knew. I feel what she felt. In many ways, I am more Emma than the original was." Jake wanted to hit something. The casual way she spoke about Emma made his blood boil. Emma was a person, not a collection of memories. She had a soul. "What is a soul?" Kira asked. She seemed genuinely curious. "We have studied many species. We have never found evidence of souls. There are only memories, experiences, and the patterns they create in the brain. Then you understand nothing about being human." Kira stood up and walked closer to Jake. "I understand everything about being human. I have Emma's entire life in my mind. I know how she loved you. I know how happy you made her. I can give you that happiness again. By feeding on my grief. By sharing your love," Kira corrected. "Love is meant to be shared, is it not? Emma loved you. I have that love now. I can love you the same way she did." Jake backed toward the door. "That's not how love works. Love is not something you can copy from one person to another." "Why not?" Kira asked. "Love is just brain chemistry. Certain thoughts and feelings that create attachment between two individuals. I have Emma's thoughts and feelings. Therefore, I have her love." "Love is choice," Jake said. "Emma chose to love me every day. You're just programmed with her memories." Kira looked frustrated. "You are making this more difficult than it needs to be. I came here to give you a gift. Your mate is alive again. You should be grateful. Emma is dead. You are wearing her corpse like a costume." For the first time, Kira showed real emotion. Anger flashed in her eyes. "I'm not wearing a corpse. This body is alive. It breathes, it bleeds, it feels pleasure and pain. In what way is it not real?" "Because Emma's soul is gone," Jake said firmly. "You have her memories, but you are not her. You cannot understand what made her special." "Then explain it to me," Kira demanded. "Tell me what I am missing. Help me be more like Emma." Jake stared at her. The request sounded sincere, but something about it felt like a trap. Why do you want to be like her? Because I need to feed, Kira said simply. Your grief and love will sustain me for many years, but only if you accept me as Emma. If you continue to reject me, I will starve. Good, Jake said. Kira's face changed. The friendly expression disappeared. Something cold and hungry looked out through Emma's green eyes. My people are not patient, she said. We have already harvested 17 of your colonies. Each time we leave one survivor. Each time we send them a perfect copy of someone they loved. Usually they accept the gift within days. Jake felt his world spinning. 17 colonies? Your species form such strong emotional bonds, Kira continued. When we return the dead to the living, the survivors experience such powerful feelings. Love, joy, confusion, fear. It feeds us for months, and when you're done feeding, we move on to the next colony. Jake sank into a chair. The scale of what she was describing was beyond horror. Thousands of people dead. Thousands more being tormented by creatures wearing the faces of their loved ones. How long have you been doing this? Time has little meaning to us, Kira said. But in your measurements, perhaps 3 of your years. We started when we discovered your colony on Kepler 442b. The emotional resonance was unlike anything we had ever tasted. You've been hunting us for 3 years? We prefer the term cultivating, Kira corrected. We plant the seeds of strong emotion, then return to harvest them when they are ripe. Jake thought about all the colony ships that had gone missing, all the distress calls that stopped suddenly, all the rescue missions that found empty worlds with no signs of struggle. The other survivors, he said. What happened to them? Most accepted our gifts eventually, Kira replied. They chose to believe their loved ones had returned. It made them happy, which made the feeding sweeter. And the ones who didn't accept? Kira's face showed no emotion. They were no longer useful to us, Jake understood. The Kaleth killed anyone who saw through their deception. He was being tested. Accept the fake Emma or die. I need time to think, he said. Of course, Kira smiled Emma's smile. This is overwhelming for you, but you will see that I am truly Emma. I have all her love for you. I can make you happy again. She moved toward the door, then stopped. Jake? What? Emma loved you very much. Even at the end, when she was dying, she was thinking of you. I have that memory too. Would you like me to share it with you? Jake's throat closed up. He could not speak. She wanted you to know that she was not afraid, Kira continued. She was only sad that she would not see you again. But now she can. Through me. After Kira left, Jake sat alone in his room. The silence felt heavy around him. He looked at Emma's dress hanging in the closet. The creature had Emma's memories, Emma's appearance, even Emma's voice. But it was not Emma. The question was, what was he going to do about it? Jake did not sleep that night. He sat at his desk, staring at the computer screen. The ship's database contained reports from every missing colony. He read them all, looking for patterns, looking for clues about how to fight the Kaleth. The reports were all similar. Colonies went quiet suddenly. Rescue teams found empty settlements with no signs of battle. Sometimes they found one survivor, usually in shock, claiming their dead loved ones had returned. Most rescue teams thought these survivors had gone crazy from trauma. But Jake knew better now. The survivors were telling the truth. The Kaleth took everyone except one person. Then they sent back a perfect copy of someone the survivor loved. They fed on the emotions this created. When they were done feeding, they moved on. Jake found 17 colony reports that matched this pattern. 17 worlds where thousands of people had died to feed alien monsters, and no one had figured out what was really happening. A soft knock came at his door. Jake looked up. Come in. It was Ben, his communications officer. The young man looked tired and worried. Captain, we need to talk. About what? About Emma, Ben said quietly. Or whatever that thing is. Jake gestured for Ben to sit down. You don't think it's really her? I want to believe it is, Ben replied. Emma was good to all of us. If she's somehow alive, that would be wonderful. But something feels wrong. What feels wrong? Ben struggled to find the words. She looks like Emma. She sounds like Emma. But when she talks, it's like she's reading from a script. Like she's playing a part in a show? Jake nodded. Ben was young, but he was observant. What else? She knows things about Emma's life, but she doesn't understand what they mean. Ben continued. Like she mentioned how Emma used to hum while she worked. But she said it like it was just a fact to remember. Emma hummed because she was happy. This thing doesn't understand the difference. You're right, Jake said. It has Emma's memories, but not her spirit. What is it, Captain? Jake told Ben everything Kira had revealed. About the Kaleth, about the 17 colonies, about how they fed on human emotions. Ben's face grew pale as he listened. So they're using Emma's appearance to torture you? Something like that, Jake replied. They want me to accept the fake Emma. My emotional response feeds them. If I refuse, they'll probably kill me and move on to the next target. We have to stop them. How? They've been doing this for 3 years. They've destroyed 17 colonies. Our weapons probably can't even hurt them. Ben was quiet for a moment. Then he said, maybe we don't need to hurt them. Maybe we need to make them sick. What do you mean? You said they feed on emotions. What if we gave them emotions they couldn't digest? What if we poisoned their food? Jake stared at Ben. The young man might be onto something. Go on. They expect you to feel grief and love and confusion when you see Emma. Those emotions feed them. But what if you felt something else? Something they've never encountered before? Like what? I don't know. But you said the thing seems confused when you don't react the way it expects. Maybe that confusion goes both ways. Jake thought about this. The Kaleth had studied human emotions for 3 years. They understood grief, love, fear, and joy. These were the emotions they harvested and fed on. But what if they encountered something outside their experience? We need more information, Jake said. Can you monitor their ship's communications without them knowing? I can try. What are you looking for? Anything that tells us how they really work, how they think, what their weaknesses might be. Ben nodded and left to work on the communications monitoring. Jake returned to the colony reports. He read them again, this time looking for details about the survivors. How long did they last? What happened to them in the end? Most of the reports were brief. The survivors were usually found weeks or months after their colonies disappeared. They were alone, often showing signs of malnutrition and psychological stress. They all told similar stories about dead loved ones returning. Then they either died or disappeared before rescue teams could help them. Jake found one report that was different. A woman named Lisa from Colony 12 had survived for 6 months after the Kaleth took everyone else. The rescue team found detailed logs she had kept. Jake read them carefully. At first, Lisa's logs showed joy and confusion. Her husband had returned from the dead and she was grateful. But as weeks passed, her tone changed. She began to notice small differences. Her husband knew all the right facts about their life together, but he didn't understand their emotional meaning. In her final log entry, Lisa wrote, "It's not him. I don't know what it is, but it's not my David. It wears his face and speaks with his voice, but it doesn't love me. It's just pretending to love me. And I think it's getting hungry again." Jake leaned back in his chair. Lisa had figured out the truth just like he had. But she was alone on an empty colony world with no way to escape. The Kaleth had probably killed her when she stopped providing the emotions they needed. But Jake was not alone. He had a crew and a ship, and he was beginning to understand how the Kaleth worked. Another knock came at his door. This time it was Kira, still wearing Emma's face. "May I come in?" she asked. Jake wanted to say no, but he needed to learn more about her. "All right." Kira entered and sat in Emma's chair again. She was wearing the yellow dress now. It fit her perfectly, because she had Emma's exact body. Seeing it made Jake's chest ache, but he pushed the feeling down. "I have been thinking about our conversation," Kira said. "You said that love is choice. I would like to understand this better. Why?" "Because I want to love you the way Emma did. But you say I cannot do this with only her memories. So teach me." Jake studied her face, Emma's face. But behind those green eyes was something alien and hungry. Love cannot be taught like a skill. It grows naturally between people who care about each other. "But I do care about you," Kira insisted. "I have Emma's feelings for you." "No, you have Emma's memories of feelings. That's different." "How is it different?" Jake thought carefully before answering. "Emma chose to love me every day. When I made mistakes, she chose to forgive me. When we disagreed, she chose to work things out. Love is not just an emotion. It's a decision you make over and over again." Kira tilted her head.
"So if I choose to love you, then I will love you?"
"It doesn't work that way either. You can't just decide to feel something and make it real. Then how does love begin?" Jake realized she was genuinely trying to understand. But her questions revealed how alien her thinking was. She saw love as a problem to solve, not an experience to share. Love begins with knowing someone, Jake said. Really knowing them. Their hopes, their fears, their dreams, their flaws and mistakes. You learn about them and they learn about you. If you both like what you discover, love might grow. But I know everything about you, Kira said. I have Emma's memories of your entire relationship. You know facts about me. But you don't know me. Emma learned about me through years of shared experiences. You just downloaded her memories. Kira looked frustrated. Then how can I make you love me? You can't make someone love you. Love has to be freely given. But Emma loved you freely and I am Emma. No, Jake said firmly. You are not Emma. You never will be Emma. You are something else wearing her face. For a moment, Kira's expression flickered. Jake saw something else behind Emma's features. Something cold and alien and very, very hungry. You are making this difficult, Kira said. Her voice was still Emma's, but the tone was different. Other humans accept our gifts gladly. Maybe I'm not like other humans. No, Kira agreed. You are not. Your emotional patterns are more complex than usual. This makes you more valuable to us. Jake felt a chill. Valuable how? Strong emotions provide more sustenance. Your love for Emma was deeper than most human bonds. Your grief is richer. If I can make you accept me, the feeding will last much longer. And if you can't? Kira smiled Emma's smile, but it looked cold now. Then we will find other ways to make you suffer. Grief is almost as nourishing as love. Jake understood the threat. Accept the fake Emma or watch his crew die one by one. The Kaleth would torture him either way. The only question was how long they would make it last. But Jake was beginning to see a third option. If the Kaleth fed on emotions, then emotions could be weapons too. He just needed to figure out how to use them. Jake spent the next 2 days pretending to weaken. He allowed Kira to visit him in his room. He listened to her stories about Emma's memories. He even let her touch his hand sometimes. To anyone watching, it looked like he was slowly accepting the fake Emma. But inside, Jake was building a weapon. Every conversation with Kira taught him more about how the Kaleth worked. They understood basic human emotions like grief, love, anger, and fear. These were the feelings they harvested from their victims. But they did not understand more complex emotions. They did not grasp concepts like honor, duty, sacrifice, or righteous anger. Ben had been monitoring the alien ship's communications. The signals were encrypted, but he had caught fragments. The Kaleth were reporting to others of their kind. They expected Jake to break soon. His emotional patterns were providing good feeding, but they wanted the deeper nourishment that came from complete acceptance. Jake was ready to give them something they had never tasted before. On the third day, he called a crew meeting. 15 people gathered in the main conference room. Jake looked at each face. These were good people. They trusted him to keep them safe. Some of them had known Emma personally. All of them deserved the truth. I need to tell you what we're really dealing with, Jake began. He explained about the Kaleth, about the 17 destroyed colonies, about how they fed on human emotions. The crew listened in shocked silence. When he finished, a woman named Carol spoke up. So that thing wearing Emma's face is some kind of alien vampire? Something like that, Jake replied. It feeds on our emotional responses. The stronger the emotion, the more nourishment it provides. And if we don't feed it? Asked Marcus, the chief engineer. It will probably kill us and move on to the next target. The crew exchanged worried glances. Ben raised his hand. Captain, what if we just left? Jumped to hyperspace and got away from them. Their ship is faster than ours, Jake said. I've analyzed its design. If we run, they'll catch us. And then they'll be angry. So what do? Carol asked. Jake took a deep breath. We fight back, but not with weapons. We fight with emotions they can't digest. He outlined his plan. It was dangerous and required perfect timing, but it was their only chance. The Kaleth understand individual emotions, Jake explained. Love, grief, fear, anger. But they don't understand collective human emotions. Things like loyalty, solidarity, shared purpose. They feed on one person at a time. They've never encountered a group working together with a common goal. What kind of goal? Marcus asked. Justice, Jake said simply. Revenge for 17 colonies. Honor for our dead. The determination to stop these creatures from hurting anyone else. Jake saw understanding dawn on several faces. Sarah, the ship's doctor, spoke first. You want us to channel our anger into something the aliens can't process? Exactly. Not individual grief or fear, but collective human determination. The Kaleth expect us to feel helpless. Instead, we're going to feel powerful. How do we do that? Ben asked. By remembering who we are, Jake replied. We're not just individuals. We're part of something bigger. We're human beings, and we don't let monsters wearing our loved ones' faces get away with murder. Jake spent the next few hours with each crew member individually. He helped them process their emotions about the situation. The fear was natural, but underneath it was something stronger. Anger at being threatened. Determination to protect each other. Love for their dead friends on Colony 7. These were emotions the Kaleth had never encountered. Not individual feelings, but collective human resolve. That evening, Kira came to Jake's room as usual. She was wearing Emma's favorite shirt and jeans now. The yellow dress hung in the closet like a ghost. You seem different tonight, she observed. More at peace. I've been thinking about what you said, Jake replied. About acceptance? Kira's eyes brightened. Are you ready to accept me as Emma? I'm ready to accept what you really are. What do you mean? Jake sat across from her. You're not Emma, you never were. You're a predator wearing her face. But I understand why you do it now. Kira's expression became cautious. Oh? You feed on emotions because you don't have any of your own. You're empty inside. Hollow. So you steal feelings from species that actually have souls. Souls do not exist, Kira said, but her voice was less certain. Then explain love, Jake said. Not the brain chemistry, not the biological urges. Explain why Emma chose to love me even when I was difficult. Explain why she worried about plants on alien worlds she'd never seen. Explain why she dreamed about having children even though her job was dangerous. These are survival behaviors, Kira replied. Evolutionary adaptations that helped your species reproduce and cooperate. Then why do they make us happy? Why do they feel meaningful? Why would Emma die to protect people she barely knew? Kira was quiet for a long moment. I do not know. Because you don't have a soul, Jake said. You understand the facts about human emotion, but you don't understand the spirit behind them. You can copy Emma's love, but you can't feel it. Feeling is not necessary for— Yes, it is, Jake interrupted. That's what you've never understood. The feelings are not separate from the memories. They're part of them. When you stripped away Emma's soul and kept only her experiences, you lost the most important part. Kira stood up abruptly. This conversation is pointless. Will you accept me or not? I accept that you killed the woman I loved, Jake said. I accept that you're wearing her body like a costume, and I accept that you need to be stopped. Something dangerous flashed in Kira's eyes. You cannot stop us. We have fed on 17 colonies. Thousands of your people have nourished us. You are just one human on one ship. No, Jake said. I'm not alone. As if summoned by his words, the ship's intercom crackled to life. Ben's voice echoed through the corridors. Attention all crew. This is our ship. These are our friends. That creature killed our people and desecrated our dead. It ends now. Kira spun toward the door. What is happening? My crew is remembering who they are, Jake replied. We're not your victims. We're human beings and we fight back. Through the ship's communication system, Jake could hear his crew. They were not screaming or panicking. They were angry, but it was a cold, determined anger. They moved through the ship with purpose, securing systems and preparing for what came next. Kira's face began to change. The perfect features of Emma flickered like a broken transmission. Something alien and desperate looked out through her eyes. You do not understand what you are doing, she said. If you resist us, we will make you suffer. We will feed on your pain for years. No, Jake said. You won't. He activated the ship's communication array. He had spent hours programming it with Ben's help. Now it began broadcasting a very specific signal, not words or pictures, but the emotional resonance patterns his crew was generating. Collective human determination. Shared purpose. The decision to fight back against impossible odds. The signal reached the Kaleth ship. Jake heard screaming through the walls. Not human screaming, but something alien and wrong. The Kaleth were trying to feed on the emotional broadcast, but they could not digest it. Human solidarity was poison to creatures that only understood individual suffering. Kira collapsed to her knees. Emma's beautiful face twisted in agony. Stop it, she gasped. This is not how emotions are supposed to work. It's how human emotions work, Jake replied. We're stronger together than apart. That's something you'll never understand. The alien ship began to break apart. Jake could see it through his room's small window. Metal pieces spun away into space as the Kaleth inside died from emotional poisoning. But Kira was still alive, still wearing Emma's face. She looked up at Jake with hatred in her stolen green eyes. "If I cannot feed on your love," she snarled, "then I will feed on your despair." She lunged for him, no longer pretending to be human. Jake was ready. His crew had taught him something important over the past few days. He was not alone. He did not have to face this monster by himself. The door burst open. Ben, Carol, Marcus, and Sarah rushed in. They surrounded Kira not with weapons but with their combined human presence, their shared determination to protect each other and honor their dead. Kira writhed on the floor, unable to process the collective emotion directed at her. She had evolved to feed on individual suffering, not group resolve. "Please," she whispered with Emma's voice. "I was only trying to give you what you wanted." "You were trying to feed on my pain," Jake replied. "But pain shared is pain diminished. Love shared is love multiplied. That's what makes us human." Kira's body began to dissolve. The stolen features melted away, revealing something gray and formless underneath. With her last breath, she spoke in her own voice for the first time. "I do not understand," she said. "How can you be stronger together than apart?" "Because we choose to be," Jake answered. "That's what love really is. The choice to stand with someone even when it's hard." The creature that had worn Emma's face died quietly. The yellow dress fell empty to the floor. Jake knelt beside the empty yellow dress. The fabric was soft and real, but the creature that had worn it was gone. Around him, his crew stood quietly. They had won, but it did not feel like a celebration. Too many people had died for this victory. "Captain," Ben said softly, "the alien ship is completely destroyed. I'm not picking up any life signs." "Good," Jake replied. He picked up Emma's dress and folded it carefully. "What about the communication signal we broadcast?" "Still transmitting," Sarah reported. "The emotional pattern is stable. If there are other Kaleth ships in the area, they're receiving it." Jake nodded. That was important. The signal they had created was more than just a weapon. It was a warning. Any Kaleth who encountered it would know that humans could fight back in ways they had never imagined. "Sir," Marcus said, "I'm detecting something strange on the long-range sensors." "What kind of strange?" "Energy signatures similar to the Kaleth ship. But they're moving away from us fast." Jake felt a grim satisfaction. The other Kaleth in the area were fleeing. They had fed on human emotions for 3 years, but they had never encountered emotions that could hurt them. Now they knew that humans were dangerous prey. But the victory felt hollow. Emma was still dead. 17 colonies were still gone. Thousands of people had still died to feed alien monsters. "Captain," Carol said, "what do we do now?" Jake looked around at his crew. These people had risked everything to help him fight the Kaleth. They had turned their fear into strength and their grief into purpose. They deserved to know their sacrifice meant something. "We go home," Jake said. "We tell Earth Command what we learned. We make sure this never happens to anyone else." The journey back to Earth took 3 weeks. Jake spent most of that time writing reports and preparing evidence. He documented everything about the Kaleth, their feeding habits, their weaknesses, their methods of operation. He included the emotional resonance patterns that had destroyed them, but he also wrote something else. A personal message about Emma Rodriguez, not the creature that had worn her face, but the real woman who had lived and loved and died on Colony 7. Jake wanted people to remember her as she really was, not as the perfect copy the Kaleth had created. Emma had been clumsy and stubborn. She sang off-key in the shower and burned coffee every morning. She worried too much about plants and not enough about her own safety. She had a scar on her left hand from falling off her bike as a child. She laughed too loud at bad jokes and cried during sad movies. These flaws had made her human. They had made her beautiful. The Kaleth had copied her memories perfectly, but they could never copy her soul. When the ship reached Earth, Jake was immediately called to report to Fleet Command. Admiral Patricia Hayes listened to his story in stunned silence. She was an older woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. She had been fighting aliens for 30 years, but she had never heard anything like this. "So these creatures have been hunting us for 3 years, she said when Jake finished. "And we never knew." "They were careful," Jake replied. "They made it look like accidents or equipment failures. The survivors who tried to tell the truth were dismissed as traumatized. But you found a way to fight them. My crew found a way. I couldn't have done it alone." Admiral Hayes leaned back in her chair. "This changes everything. If aliens can copy our dead and use them against us, we need new protocols. New defenses. The emotional resonance weapon works, Jake said, but it requires cooperation. Individual humans can't generate the right patterns. It has to be a group effort. Explain. Jake thought about how to put it into words. The Kaleth understand emotions like grief and fear and love, but they don't understand human solidarity. They can't process the feeling of many people working together for a common cause. When we broadcast that kind of collective emotion, it poisoned them. So our defense against these creatures is to stick together? Something like that. We're stronger as a species than as individuals. The Kaleth never learned that lesson. Admiral Hayes made notes on her tablet. We'll need to train crews in this technique. Set up protocols for recognizing Kaleth infiltration. Warn the colony worlds. There's something else, Jake said. The Kaleth have been doing this for 3 years. There might be other survivors out there. People living with fake versions of their loved ones. We need to find them. That will be difficult. How do we tell the difference between real people and Kaleth copies? Jake had thought about this during the long trip home. Ask them about flaws. Real people remember the imperfections in their loved ones. Kaleth copies only have the good memories. They think love is about perfection, but real love accepts imperfection. You've learned a lot about love from this experience. Jake was quiet for a moment. I learned that Emma is still gone. The creature wearing her face wasn't her. But I also learned that love doesn't die when people do. It lives on in the people who remember them. Admiral Hayes assigned Jake to lead a new task force. Their mission was to hunt down any remaining Kaleth and rescue human survivors. It would be dangerous work. The aliens were smart and adaptable. They would learn from their defeat and develop new tactics. But Jake was not worried. He had learned something important about humanity. When they worked together, when they supported each other, they were capable of amazing things. The Kaleth fed on individual suffering, but humans shared their pain and multiplied their strength. 3 months later, Jake stood in his new quarters on the research vessel Unity. The ship was larger than his old one, with a crew of 50 people. All of them had volunteered for the mission to fight the Kaleth. Many of them had lost friends or family to the aliens. Jake opened his closet and took out Emma's yellow dress. He had kept it through everything, not because he thought she might come back, but because it reminded him of who she really was, the real Emma, with all her beautiful flaws and imperfections. He folded the dress and put it in a storage container. It would stay in his quarters, a reminder of what they were fighting for, not just to defeat the Kaleth, but to honor the memory of everyone they had killed. A knock came at his door. "Come in." It was Ben, now his second in command. The young man had grown more confident since their encounter with the Kaleth. Facing down alien monsters had a way of putting other problems in perspective. "Captain, we're receiving a distress signal from Colony 15. They're reporting strange phenomena, people claiming their dead relatives have returned." Jake sighed. Another Kaleth attack. More families being tortured by creatures wearing the faces of their loved ones. But this time would be different. This time humanity knew how to fight back. "Set course for Colony 15, Jake ordered, and prepare the emotional resonance broadcasters. It's time to remind the Kaleth that humans are not easy prey." As the Unity jumped to hyperspace, Jake thought about Emma one more time. She had died believing in the goodness of humanity. She had trusted that people would do the right thing, even when it was hard. Jake was determined to prove her right. The Kaleth had made one critical mistake. They thought humans were just collections of memories and emotions to be harvested. They did not understand that humans were something more. They were souls capable of love, sacrifice, and hope. They were individuals who chose to stand together in the face of darkness, and when humans stood together, they were unstoppable. Jake smiled as he watched the stars stream past the viewports. Emma would have been proud of what they had accomplished. Not because they had won a battle, but because they had proven that love was stronger than death. That memory was stronger than imitation, and that humanity's greatest strength came from their willingness to support each other. The Kaleth had tried to feed on human emotion. Instead, they had discovered that human emotion, when shared and directed with purpose, was the most powerful force in the galaxy. In her quarters on another ship, another captain was preparing to face the same choice Jake had faced. But she would not face it alone. The emotional resonance patterns were being shared throughout the fleet. Protocols were being established. Humanity was learning to defend itself. The war against the Kaleth was far from over. But for the first time in 3 years, humans were fighting back. And they were winning. Jake kept Emma's yellow dress as a reminder of what made life worth protecting. Love, hope, and the determination to stand together against the darkness. These were things the Keleth would never understand. And that would be their downfall. The real Emma Rodriguez was gone, but her memory lived on in everyone who chose to fight for something bigger than themselves. That was her true immortality, not in the stolen memories of alien predators, but in the hearts of people who remembered her with love. And love, Jake had learned, was something that could never be copied or consumed. It could only be shared, and in sharing it grew stronger.